and welcome back to another Hancock's VMware half hour. Okay, so in part 101 today we're going to look at one of the new features in VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 9.0. Now, if you watched the last video that I did, which was part 100 in our series, then we actually basically did a P2V of a Linux Ubuntu PC using VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 9.0. In this video today, in part 101, we're going to look at one of the new features that actually exists in 9.0, and that's the ability to synchronize a virtual machine. Now, the synchronization option has been available in VMware's vCenter Converter for Windows for a very long time, certainly since 5.1, because I've been writing I've been writing articles and producing videos about using the synchronization function in Windows for a very long time. But in 9.0, we now can see that we have the ability to use the synchronization function on a Linux machine. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Okay, so we've restarted this virtual machine. We have restarted ESXi 052. There are no virtual machines present. And I'm going to go for a conversion again. Okay, ADAPH, password. Just been outside, it's freezing. I was looking for a piece of heat shrink, but we'll come on to that in another video. As I said, lots of parallel streams of videos here going on. Obviously, this is VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 9, and obviously we've still got the slow burn DIY NAS with Unraid, which is running in parallel to this at the moment. So we're sort of kind of a little bit busy and preoccupied with things. Okay, Synchronize Changes. Don't want to perform a final synchronization, followed by next. But of course, I was going to change. Okay, so it's remembered that. It's remembered that, followed by next, followed by finish. And that's going to tick on doing that. That's a conversion task. So I'm going to get a couple of pings going in the background here. We can actually have a look, see what's going on. So we wanted a ESXi 052. We'll have a little look at that. And we'll also have another command prompt doing ping 141, 245, 138, no, 137.213, which is the, and we'll have another one. I want to do PowerShell. Ping Night Scout. Okay, so let's have a little look. All those, are we all running okay? 213's running. That's running. Night Scout's okay. So the converter helper, Night Scout's running. So the converter helper ISO is currently on because that's 141.255.137.213. So that should allow VMware vCenter Converter Standalone to be able to connect to it. Okay, partitioning the disks. We've seen this before. This won't take very long. Partitioning the disks, destination disks, and then it's going to format the destination disk, and then it's going to start doing the Rsync tasks from source to destination. And the first one we're going to see is FE /FE. Then we're going to see /boot, and then we're going to see root /. And it's going to synchronize. There's a FE and boot are going to be fairly quick. It will complete those quickly. It'll start and complete, and then it will do the root, which will take a bit longer, but certainly it's not going to take 2 hours and 49 minutes. In fact, actually, it's just when are we actually 2007. We've started. So, okay, you can see there that FE's started and finished, boot started and finished, and now we're just doing root, which is going to take a little bit longer, but certainly we'll start seeing this reduce. And this looks like this is the first pass of synchronization, and then it will do a second pass after it's done this first pass, which I think is just capturing the changes that it's missed in the first seed. So we're still at 4%, but certainly I think we should start to see that the estimated time remaining here starts to decrease. So this started at 2007 and we're 2011. Okay, and so we have an update here. Okay, let's jump to 10%, and the estimated time remaining is reducing. And we can see the transfer rate when it's being updated is increasing. Estimated completion time is 21:45, 43. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. We're at 14%. Okay, so I'll just mute the mic a minute. Just thought I'd come back in here at 91%. See, there's a huge jump from 50% up to 91%, as we seem to start repeating the clone again. So here, boot, FE, boot, root, and then we're doing boot, FE, boot, and then we're doing root again. We're at 91%, and this is generally where we actually basically start to see issues with the tracker driver, not being able to start it. But at the moment, we've still got good ping to the, there we go, request timeout. So that's interesting, request timeout there, 96%. But we've still got the converter helper. That's still up at the moment at 96%. Obviously, Night Scout's still going to be up, and obviously the host is still going to be up. So it's okay. So creating the initial RAM disk. So that must be still communicating at this moment with 213, the converter helper ISO, because the actual Night Scout VM is not up and running on ESXi052. So we've reconfigured the destination. We're creating the initial RAM disk. And then we've got some manipulations with networking and grub, and then we're finished. So we're at 97%. Converter helper ISO still up and running. Okay, some strange, interesting 343 millisecond. Okay, so we're now installing the grub bootloader at 99%, 343 1%, creating the FE and completed the reconfiguration of destination virtual machine at 99%. Now we've dropped, so we've actually now powered off at that point. So whether or not this is just a delay, because we've created installed the grub bootloader, patched the mounting entries and FS tab, patched network and config files, created FE, completed. Okay, so that is first time. Like, this video is probably going to go on a little bit. As I said, it's an hour now, so I'm probably going to have to come back and cut and paste. Anyway, so first time round, we've managed to do a synchronization correctly at 100% with no issues. And all we've done is restart the ESXi host and restart the virtual machine. Nothing else here has changed. And overall, the running time was 9 minutes. So that's the first capture, the first pre-seed. And what we'll hopefully now see in the jobs. Anyway, you find me back at the keyboard, which feels like a lifetime at this moment, because I've now been struggling with VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 9 for the last 5 days, and I have recorded over 19 hours of video for this particular video in using the synchronization function with a Linux distro. Excuse me. And I think that we've found the issue, but I'm going to do a fingers crossed when I say that, because things are still a little bit janky, really, to be honest with you. I'm going to have a little look through all this footage that I've created, this 19 hours worth, and try and create a sort of kind of sequence of 30 to 45 minutes of how it's supposed to work. And hopefully all these pieces that I've shot over the last 19 hours, as I said, I've not actually managed to have one video sequence that's worked from end to end. Although this one's looking pretty good, as you can sort of kind of see from all these completed sections here. As I said, you know, we're on the 24th November now, the day after my birthday yesterday, where I did actually have a day off. But I came back and actually basically found that the video had been paused, and you know, that had totaled up about 3.5 hours. So I have to go back to the edit room and have a little look, see what we've got. So I think we're there. So I'm going to sort of kind of repeat the last steps that I did, and then we'll probably chop the video sequence. So let's just get me head to where we were. That we'd already done the first primary seed, or the first conversion. So now we're actually basically doing our intermediary deltas, if you like. So we've done one synchronization, which synchronized across the directory 1. Then we did another synchronization that basically synced across directory 2. And then what I said I was going to do, I was going to download a very large file. So I found one here. So I'm going to download this super large file, which happens to be 10 gig. I'm going to do an Md5sum of this file, 10gb.dat. Then I'm going to perform the final synchronization. And what we're hoping for is that the final file or changes that we've actually basically made to this virtual machine will be captured. Then we'll start that virtual machine, we'll do an Md5sum, and hopefully both files will be exactly the same, and therefore Q.E.D. So that's the theory. As I said, I think possibly, fingers crossed, I may have identified the issue that I'm seeing here with this, but there are still another few, well, lots. There are still an awful lot of janky error messages that are appearing for no reason at all. And what I'm finding is if I restart the host, ESXi 052, and if I restart the virtual machine, which happens to have VMware Converter As I've said before, I stand a much better chance of obtaining a conversion, which is what I've said before in a quote that I made all those years ago, about 13 years ago, that P2Vs, V2Vs are 25% knowledge, 25% experience, and 50% luck, or a derivative of those. Can't really remember the quote. I'll have to go and dig it out. But anyway, so this is just about to finish. So we're going to do an Md5sum of this. Md5sum. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to disappear and put this on pause. I'm going to didn't take very long, did it? Okay, so we've got our MD5 SIG on our source destination. We've downloaded our 10 GB DAT file. So I'm going to go back to our VMware vCenter Converter Standalone version 9 or VMware Converter. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to Jobs. And as I sort of kind of said to you before, you'll only have this job available that allows you to schedule it or allows you to run it immediately. You'll only have that if you've used the synchronization option. So I'm going to do right click and I'm going to do synchronize. And this is going to be our final synchronization. So when we do the final synchronization, so I'm going to say perform final synchronization. When we do perform final synchronization, a number of things happen. First of all, once the final synchronization is completed, this job is going to be deleted, so we won't be able to run the synchronization anymore. The other thing that happens is that every single delta that we've been doing, if I have a little look at the virtual machine, so if I have a little look at Night Scout, and if I have a little look at the snapshots on it, and say manage snapshots, you'll actually basically see that for every incremental P2V that we've done, there is a snapshot. And then, of course, what actually basically happens at the final synchronization is all those snapshots effectively are merged into the final source virtual machine. Now I could power up those individual virtual machines on those individual snapshots, and we can actually basically look at the changes that have been captured in each VM. But I'm not going to tempt fate, because I don't know whether or not that that's actually basically going to cause me problems or not. Let's just minimize. I've been looking at buying guitars. Anyway, so let's just go back to our conversion. The other thing that we could do as well is that we could power on the destination and we could power off the source. Now, I'm not going to do that here because I don't really want to fail over or convert my Night Scout machine. But if you were actually basically doing this in real production, then you may want to basically say, well, I'll power off the source now and I'll power on the destination, when of course you're doing this cut over at the weekend. So run immediately and perform the final synchronization. Next, now I'm hoping here that it doesn't crap out, because in the past, when we've done the final or tried to do the final synchronization, what we've actually basically found is it craps out on us. Now, of course, this synchronization, of course, is the final synchronization. It's going to take a little bit longer because I deliberately downloaded 10 gigs worth of IO changes. So therefore, this synchronization is going to take a little bit longer than normal. And I've done that deliberately so that you can actually basically see that these delta synchronizations along the way are pretty quick. But it really depends, obviously, on what changes are actually basically occurring in the virtual machine, which is why I sort of kind of said to you before, really, that if you're actually doing this in the real and you're doing this in production, what you probably really want to be doing is run schedules every day on a virtual machine or a physical machine to capture those changes. And then finally, when you want to do your cutover, do another synchronization that day. And then shortly after, 5 or 10 minutes, then do the final synchronization. So, okay, you can already see here that we're up to 9%. But at the moment, it's only done boot FE, boot, and and boot at the moment, starting the clone, waiting for destination, completing the clone, starting the clone, cloning complete. So now we're waiting for that big change. We're waiting basically for the whole disk now, the root to start. And as I said, you know, there's 10 gigs worth of changes there because we've got that 10 gig file. That's going to get replicated to our destination virtual machine. It's going to tidy up all those snapshots, and then we'll power it up and we'll do an Md5sum of that particular file. So I'll wait for that to complete. I'm going to jump back in here. I think what we're seeing now, and we can confirm that in a minute, that we're at 99%, and we're basically seeing as starting the reconfiguration of the destination virtual machine. And I think that really what that's actually basically saying is we are removing snapshots. Yes, and there we go. You can see them there. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. So effectively, we're merging the snapshots now of that final P2V. So all those delta snapshots that we've been creating. So every time that there is a synchronization of changes, that's a delta snapshot. And then all those delta snapshots are rolled up into the final parent disk. So again, depending upon the underlying storage and how large those deltas are, then as I've said before about snapshots, you know, you could be waiting minutes, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks. So that's just sort of kind of worth bearing that in mind if you are using the synchronization option and you are doing lots of synchronizations throughout the week. How large they are obviously is going to have a bearing on when you do the final cutover, how long it's actually basically going to take to merge all those snapshots. I'm just going to have a look around behind me at the storage. Yeah, because we actually basically put that storage on spinning Rust, one of our temp NASs here, 68%. So there we go. So we're just going to have to wait for that snapshot to merge. It will complete, but again, the underlying data store speed and size of the snapshot is going to dictate how long that merge is going to take place. And in fact, actually, looking at that, it says 87%. So it is moving on. And if we still go back to VMware Converter, it's still basically stating 99% estimated time 1 minute. I think that, again, I think we can take that with a pinch of salt, really. I don't think really that it's been sitting at estimated time as a minute now, I think, for the last few minutes. So that's a bit wrong, really, to be honest with you. But it hasn't really got any idea, and it hasn't really got any feedback realistically as to, although it could actually basically look at the performance counters. It could look at the time remaining. It could look at the percentage, and it could feed that back if it wanted to. But they've obviously just not bothering because they're just basically saying starting reconfiguration of the destination machine, and until that actually basically completes, it's not going to trigger or feedback here to say 100%. So what are we doing? We're at 89%. So we're slowly getting there. Slowly getting there. So I'll just turn off the mic and blah. And just as I'm basically moving screens around, I get a completed. Still got a couple of warnings there. I don't really know what they're about. And if we go back now, we can see that all the snapshots have been removed and we've got a Night Scout VM. So as I promised, what I was going to do, I'm going to power it up. So as we've seen before, I'm going to round this up to 8 and I'm going to turn off networking, followed by save. The only reason to want to do that, of course, is because this is a live virtual machine that is actually basically sitting on another cluster here in the lab. So we're going to wait for that to boot up. Now, as we've seen before, when I demonstrated booting this particular machine up, It is going to sit there and it's going to pause for a while complaining about networking because I've turned the interface off, or I've unplugged it. So I'm going to wait for that to boot up, and I'll be back. Okay, so there we have a login screen. So lost my mouse now. There we go. Okay, so this is the P2V virtual machine from our other ESXi cluster to ESXi 052 using VMware vCenter server standalone 9.0 using the synchronization method, which is a new feature in version 9 to synchronize and the changes from Nightscape, and hopefully they all should be replicated here. So PWD, okay, let's have a little look, see if we've got our directories first of all. Okay, so we've got directory 1 and we've got directory 2, and in directory 2, hopefully, we have got our 10gb.dat. So we'll do exactly the same thing. I'm going to do an Md5sum on that file, just really to prove that those two checksums in both those virtual machines match. So we're going to wait for that to appear. And I'm just going to disappear again. That has completed, and I'm going to read it out. Anyway, I've got the old one on screen, which is C70F073B3. Anyway, so the new one is 370F073B39174F06F134DAE488DABB, and that matches exactly. You're probably thinking to yourself, how does he know that? Anyway, that's a secret. Anyway, so that matches exactly the source 10gb.dat file, C70F073B39174F06 F134DAE4AABDAB9B. There we go. So I was just actually basically just sort of kind of titling that I think for 5 days, 12 hours a day, 20 something hours now of shot video, bringing to you how we use VMware vCenter Converter Standalone version 9 to P2V, a Linux Ubuntu 2204 live powered on server, we'll call it a server, using the synchronization method. Wow, it's been a long one, that. And that's going to leave me with a mountain of time to take that 20 hours of video in edit, to edit that down to something for you to watch on the tube. Anyway, so I did sort of kind of say to you that I was going to reveal some secrets in that video, but I'm going to leave that to the next one, and I'll reveal some of you out there with a keen eye may have noticed that I may have given it away in this video. You have to look hard, but come back in the next one, because we'll just do a very quick secret reveal as to what I've been up to. And it sort of kind of ties in nicely. There's a nice segue there into our other series that we're doing at the moment, which is our DIY NAS using Unraid on an Intel Extreme NUC 11th Gen, which is series that's running in parallel with this one. It's a bit slow burn. We're waiting for all the bits and pieces to slowly turn up. Another piece arrived yesterday, I think. There's another couple of pieces arriving today and maybe tomorrow. So that's a bit of a slow burn series that we're doing there. But anyway, come back for 102, part 102. Well, we'll just quickly publish as a secret reveal because this video has really gone on a lot. Anyway, if you've enjoyed these videos, then don't forget to like, subscribe and share. There's an awful lot of people out there watching these videos, but they're not liking them. Need those likes. You keep doing the likes, we'll keep doing the videos. So once again, thanks so much for watching me, Andrew Hancock, at Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Stay alive and be kind and work hard. And I'll see you again on the next video here at Hancock's VMware Half Hour. So